It is a truth quietly understood in villages like St. Mary Mead that very little ever escapes notice. Even the smallest irregularity, a misplaced word, an unopened curtain, or the curious order in which laundry is hung, may carry meaning. On this particular afternoon, Miss Jane Marple sat by her window, the piece of embroidery resting lightly in her lap. She was not sewing, she was watching. Across the lane, Miss Ellerton's maid was hanging out washing. At first glance, there was nothing remarkable about it, yet Miss Marple's eyes lingered. The maid began with undergarments, then moved to sheets, then back again to stockings. An odd sequence, untidy thinking, or distracted attention. Miss Marple tilted her head slightly. Curious, she murmured. Her needle remained still. There is always a reason. One only has to look closely enough. Just then, the gate clicked open behind her. Jane, my dear, are you in? Miss Marple turned, her expression warming. Of course, Dolly. Do come in. Mrs. Bantry entered, with energy enough for 2 people, her gloves half removed, her hat just slightly crooked. She carried with her that unmistakable air of news. I have something to tell you, she said, breathless with importance. Miss Marple smiled faintly. You generally do. This is not ordinary, Dolly insisted. This is something quite peculiar. Miss Marple gestured gently to a chair. Then I suggest you sit down and tell it properly. Mrs. Bantry sat, leaned forward, and lowered her voice. It concerns Wych Elm House. Though goodness knows, it has not truly belonged to them for years, ever since that unfortunate nephew, who borrowed money rather more easily than he repaid it, Miss Marple finished softly. Dolly nodded. Well, it has been let again to a Mr. Armitage. Armitage, Miss Marple repeated. No one seems to know anything about him, Dolly continued. He arrived suddenly, took the house, and has scarcely been seen since. Miss Marple folded her hands. That in itself is not unusual. Oh, but it is, Jane. No gardener, hardly any windows opened. And Mrs. Price, who Mrs. Nothing, says she has seen lights moving about at all hours. Miss Marple turned her face toward the window. Moving lights, she said thoughtfully. Yes, as if someone were searching. A brief silence followed. Searching for something, Miss Marple said. That is exactly what I thought. Outside, the maid dropped a peg. It struck the stone and rolled away. She hesitated, and continued working without retrieving it. Has anyone met Mr. Armitage? Miss Marple asked. Colonel Melchett tried, Dolly said. But he was informed to the gentleman thus indisposed. By whom? A servant, though no one has seen him properly. Miss Marple turned back. That is highly unusual. And then, Dolly added, there was a delivery. A delivery. A crate. Large, heavy, unmarked. It was carried inside, and has not been seen since. Miss Marple became still. What kind of crate? Oh, ordinary to look at. But Mrs. Price insists it was far too heavy to be ordinary. Miss Marple nodded slowly. And what do you think, Dolly? Mrs. Bantry hesitated. I think something is not right. Yes, said Miss Marple. I think so too. 2 days later, Miss Marple took a walk. Not an idle walk, but one with purpose. The lane to Wych Elm House was narrow, its hedges slightly overgrown. The house stood back, half hidden among trees. It appeared quiet, composed, and watchful. Miss Marple paused at the gate. There was nothing obviously wrong, and yet there was a feeling of restraint, as though something inside was being carefully contained. Very like Mrs. Simpkins, Miss Marple murmured, who insisted everything was perfectly normal. Even when the cat had been missing 3 days, she opened the gate and walked up the path. Before she could knock, the door opened. A man stood there, tall, thin, controlled. His expression was not welcoming. "Yes," he said. Miss Marple smiled gently. "Good afternoon. My name is Miss Marple. I live in the village. I thought I might introduce myself." The man studied her. "We are not receiving visitors." "Of course," Miss Marple replied calmly. "One quite understands. Though in villages it is often advantageous to make acquaintances." A flicker passed through his eyes. "Mr. Armitage is not available. I see. And you are a servant." Miss Marple inclined her head. "Of course." Then a sound came from within the house. A dull, distinct thud. The servant did not move, but the tension in him was clear. Miss Marple observed everything. "I do hope nothing has been damaged," she said mildly. "There is nothing to concern you," he replied quickly. "Ah," said Miss Marple. "That is always reassuring." She turned to leave, then paused. "One last thing. If you would be so kind, please tell Mr. Armitage that Mrs. Bantry sends her regards." The servant hesitated. "Very well," Miss Marple smiled. "Thank you." She walked away unhurried, but her mind was active. That evening, Miss Marple sat once again by her window. The embroidery lay untouched. The facts arranged themselves. A reclusive man, an unseen servant, a heavy crate, lights at night, and a single sound. "A simple explanation," she murmured. "There is always the explanation." Outside the village lay in quiet. But Miss Marple was thinking of Watchelm House. "Something is being hidden," she said softly. A pause. "And I do not believe it is a thing to be continued."